What's up, fam, and welcome to episode 23.
23.
23. Oh,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
people are going to know that we're wearing the same clothes. Oh,
2
no.
weeks in a row.
I think they get the idea.
Actually, y'all, we are in beautiful Guatemala, Antigua.
Yes. Antigua.
Antigua. On a marriage conference retreat outreach mission.
We're like we're rolling all of it in one.
Our entire life into one big giant jelly roll.
And it's cool because Jen and Jason are here with us.
Woohoo!
And they're faithful watchers of the podcast.
Yeah, so we got to mention them
supporters.
quite often, every once in a while. So
Yeah, so when we mention Jen and Jason, look, they're right
Ta-da,
here.
there they
Ta-da.
are.
Long-time watcher, first-time podcaster.
Won't be your last, bro.
So thanks for joining us, guys, and thanks for just, being here and
Yeah.
showing up and
Just being you.
yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
So
Amazing.
Lou was saying that on
But I
the
love
last
Jason. Yeah. Everyone's saying that.
Love you too.
Wow.
Good Lord. That's not what I was saying. I was saying that he was complaining that on our last podcast that he didn't get to answer any questions. So I'm going to sit here like him.
Ooh.
I didn't get to ask any questions to what it was. And so it was a free-flowing conversation with Mrs. Velasquez leading the way. But hey, we balance each other out.
Is that going to be part of our petty?
Yeah, that's already on my petty list already.
It's on your petty list,
It is
oh.
on my petty list.
Okay.
All right. So I love, I always say this, and somebody else quoted me on this not that long ago about having front row seats as God helps people, be transformed or be a better version of them or whatever it is you want to call it, right? I like to think that it's God doing his work. So I love my man Jason, but I'd like to hear from you, Jen, to kick this thing off.
Okay.
What are some of the things that you've seen in Jason that have changed, shifted, moved since you started this mission journey, right? We've been doing marriage stuff with y'all for quite a while, but I think, so you can do both, right? The marriage thing flowing then into the mission piece and this totally different, what I think is a different way of life for you guys.
Yeah. I would say that Jason is not the man that I initially met and I initially married. And I think that he is a better, right? He's a better version of what he was, because I love the man that he was before, but this is a better version of that man, right? And to watch him in prayer and to watch him on his own in prayer and to watch him in his word and to watch his heart, right, transform, because I see, even on missions, like I see the way he meets with other men, right? And even when we don't speak the same language, right, he still puts himself out there and to meet these other men and children, to see the gentle side of him with children. I always saw that with my kids, but to see him with just randomly out in the world with other kids.
I
Right.
have to say, watching the both of you in DR, because DR was the first trip, right, in the Dominican Republic, and we just kind of randomly put out there, we're like, hey, because we know you're a sports family, we're like, hey, can you guys we want to bring a different sport.
Hockey.
Yeah.
We wanted to bring a different sport because in the Dominican Republic, what's the sport? Baseball.
Yeah.
And so we're like, hey, let's bring hockey, and just to see, how that, you don't really visualize it, or you have kind of like a vision, but you don't know what the outcome is going to look like. And it completely exceeded our expectations.
My
It was
God.
so
Yeah.
cool. And the
Yeah.
kids are still playing with it, because when the
Really?
team was there, there was video or pictures of them still playing
Oh,
with their
yeah.
hockey
That's so
sticks.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's another thing because I got to see him and watch him as a coach and as a player, right? Because I used to go to his hockey games when we were dating
time
and
ago.
going to his, softball games. But then to see him now, again, I never imagined seeing I envisioned myself at some point in my life going on a mission trip. I never imagined that my husband would be doing it with me. So I'm so grateful.
I don't think I envisioned myself either. we were sitting at your table for
He's like,
kind
"Nope."
of a just a Q&A of what the outline was going to be and what it's going to look like. And
That's right. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
It was just you going on that trip, and
He just
somewhere in
came
that
for the
mix,
meeting.
Yes.
Do you remember?
The spirit
Yeah.
was like, hey.
I think you asked the
I need you
question
to
like,
come.
like introduce yourself, because this was like a lot of people first time meeting. Introduce yourself and tell us why you're going, or something like that, or
Yeah, yeah,
your
yeah.
expectation, or I don't know.
Right.
Then he stood up and was like, "My name's Jason, and this will be my first mission." And we're like,
I know. The look on her face was just like, what? We
Did this
didn't.
just happen?
Yeah.
like we better get some funds together.
I think God's good, right? I think there's more than a few opportunities to be involved and to do things, and I've always been somewhat a little hesitant. I don't want to say resistant, but more hesitant, just not thinking I was qualified or
Yeah.
educated enough in Scripture to do so. And the God used sports, something that
Yeah.
is very familiar, something that's very in my wheel well, that I think would have been a contribution, and to bring hockey to Dominican, and how fast those boys picked up on it.
Let's get back to that, because this wasn't just a puck and some sticks.
Yeah.
You guys had a full
The
gear,
full thing.
full gear, and then we set up the tables as boards. So then it was just kind of like boom,
Yeah,
boom,
yeah.
boom, boom, boom. Like it was real, like it was really live. I was like, yeah, this is what I'm talking about.
It's so cool.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure they had the full experience, right? We got full
Full
goalie
gear,
sets.
full goalie
Yeah.
gear. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was so good.
New sticks, and then the
And
nets,
that wasn't
everything.
required,
Yeah.
but I think that's also a nice touch for the boys. right?
Yeah.
Like to have something new that's theirs that they can learn and run with. And that was, it was a blessing to us for that.
And then to see them, like right when we first got there, they wanted to like have their best on, so they had their shoes and they had their gym shoes and everything. And then once they really got into the sport, they're like, forget these shoes.
We're
They kicked
barefoot.
They were doing hockey barefoot.
Yeah.
the goalie was playing barefoot, which
Yeah.
is dangerous because you're the first person to get hit with the puck, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah. That was a lot of
It was
fun.
good. It was good.
It's-
Even as we were kind of leaving and coming and going, every time we saw them, there was like a new skill set or something new they were doing with it that I thought,
Yeah.
helped bless them to keep them occupied and to let them learn something new. So.
So cool.
Yeah, but let me finish in answering that first question though, because I just thought of it. Even watching Jason as he talks to the other men now that he helps lead, right, and having them call him and them like reaching out to him, I don't think he ever expected that.
You're calling me. I think you mean Pastor Lou.
Yeah, you have the
Need
wrong
his
number.
I was like, I think Pastor Lou was the one that told him to call you.
Probably.
Probably
Yeah,
so.
but now, like right now, they're reaching out
Yeah.
to him. So I see it, right, and I'm so grateful and thankful. And I see like the tenderness, right, because before there wasn't as much tenderness, but we definitely see it now. I see him stopping him, kind of stopping himself, walking away from things that would previously just get him so worked up and so bothered. So there's definite transformation, but then to know that other people recognize that in him too, and they reach out to him.
Yeah,
So
for
good.
sure.
So I guess I'll flip the question though
Yeah.
too. So Jason, if we were to ask you that same question, like what are some of the things that I know that Jen, you kind of grew up in the church, but knowing that, we know that those things change and we transform into different people. But like, what are some of the qualities that you've been able to pick up on in your walk together?
I think since we've been doing missions and even the group, there's just been a lot more peace and more giving it to God,
Yeah.
right? I think before we were a lot more worried about finances, about keeping up with the Joneses, things of that nature that would put added stress into our relationship. And, communication has definitely improved. I think because, in many of those situations, I wasn't always wanting to have those conversations, right? Like, I'll take care of it, don't worry about it, it's something we can handle later. And then I'd stress on my own about it, and she would still maybe be worried or have some stress on her end too. But there's been a lot more peace. There's been a lot more trust, open communication with it, transparency. As we all know, marriages, sometimes you're 70-30, sometimes you're 60-40.
Yeah.
I think my ego got in the way of that, but I think, a lot what has improved in our communication is I think Jen's patience with my communication, wanting to reveal I don't have money to pay this bill, or I don't think that we can do this then, right? And kind of being able to share that with her without worrying about talking more into that conversation. I think a lot of times males specifically, myself, if it's not something I can handle or fix right away, I'd push it to the back burner, and that's where I would want it to stay. And then, I think women in general want to know, our nesters, they prepare a nest, they want to know what's coming next, or at least be on the same page, and I just wasn't providing that for her. And so I think her allowing me to be more vulnerable and share with her, open up the communication, let us kind of get on the same page. We were in the same book, we just weren't always on the same page.
Yeah.
That's good.
And so, that really has transformed them. I would also say her love and her faith has probably tripled since we've begun, even just with marriage ministry. Her faith is she'll scream it from the mountaintop. She doesn't care. She's not worried about who's offended by it. I'm still working a little bit on that, but I think at the end it's awesome to see, because it's a reflection that I see in our kids now, and our daughter and our son. And so it has helped kind of bring a more peaceful stability to our relationship, which was kind of really just brought all the chaos in our household down to a slower pattern, less traffic, less rushing, right? Give it to God. He'll help us with us. He'll take care of it. And so,
I would also say that I had to learn how to let go and let him have some control, or have the control, because I had control of everything. And I think that's what you were talking about a little bit, even like with the trust, and he's saying, he talks about finances like early on, I didn't know that I could trust him, right? Because he was probably making decisions either without me, or that I didn't think were good decisions. And so then I was always on top of him, on top of him, on top of him, on top of him, right? And then I had to release that and say, no, okay, I'm going to trust you because you're telling me. But sometimes I was still very worried in the background, but I still had to say, okay, and if it fails, then it fails, and then we'll have to figure out a new way. But I had to trust that he wasn't going to allow it to fail.
I think there's a funny part there of, where sometimes the word submit can be taken out of context, and most women don't like when men use it in that worldly culture nature, right? But then, on the back end too, I'm like, I'm the man, I'm leading, why aren't you following?
Yeah.
And I think the retrospect and through the communication and even self-reflection with Jesus was, are you leading? Because those who lead, people follow, right? Naturally. And I think I was just kind of doing the facade of pretending to lead and just trust my word versus, hey, here's what the plan is and here's how we can get there together. Just really kind of brings more tranquility to.
And then even just sometimes too, we both kind of learned the way we communicate and the way we talk to each other. We are our children's first example of marriage and relationship, right? So previously we weren't always very kind, but then once we became, we actually thought about it and said, okay, this is what we want to do, and this is the example we want to set.
Well, what kind of man do I want my daughter
to marry? That's
to
that's
pursue,
the $1 million
or to
question.
That's
or
so
to,
true.
to think that that's okay to be treated or to be
Yeah.
spoken to or to argue like that in public,
And we've gone back, both of us, and have gone back and apologized to our kids and say, listen, we're sorry. This is not about you. This is not, we're going to do better. We're going to work on.
Which is good, because even when we have small disagreements, which really aren't arguments, I think because we've been doing that, they automatically interject that you guys are arguing. You guys need to stop. All right, listen. There's levels to disagreeing and just having a conversation.
What does Gianna do? Gianna, what do you do? And so she starts singing it, and we stop. We stop, and then we're like, what are you doing? She's like, mission accomplished, because it got us to
Yeah,
stop.
yeah.
Right.
It got us to stop arguing. That's so good.
I think early in the beginning it was, I'm going to call Pastor Lou.
Yeah, yeah.
Or I'm going to text Liz. Pastor Liz, I'm going to let her know.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Hey,
I mean, we
we're-
all.
And what did you say?
You can text him.
Go ahead. I don't care. I don't care.
I'll see him later today.
I don't care.
We gonna talk later anyway. Hey, I love. I mean, if there's, when you go to the dentist, right? Don't they always remind you, hey, remember to floss, right? You're looking good, but I see a little something in there. If you just floss once, twice a day, you're good, right? And you're like, yeah.
I'm like secretly checking my teeth.
And
right
that
now.
first, and that first week, you're flossing, and then afterwards, like, yeah, every once in a while, every couple of days, right? I got the water pick now, y'all, so it's amazing.
I got one too.
And you floss all the time because it's so cool. But anyway,
Everywhere.
but how often did we talk about communication?
Yeah.
How often did Liz and I try to talk about, hey, look, sex, yes, communicate about it, right?
Yeah.
And you get angry, yes, communicate about it.
Children.
Children, yes, but you communicate about it. And you guys use the word communication
Yeah.
at least 5 or 6 times in the last, 2 or 3 minutes. So it does a pastor, a minister good. It's fulfilling to know
Encouraging,
that
yeah.
you're flossing.
And you're putting in the work.
Yeah.
You're
Putting in the work. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just your obedience. Your obedience is shown in everything that we have asked of you. You guys have been amazing, and I hope we haven't let you guys down. I mean, we're human, and I know that we make horrible mistakes at times, but we do our best. We do our best, especially with not that we treat anybody else differently, but those that are closest to you, they see you more often. So you got to be more intentional about the way
So
you.
they see all of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
One would even gather to say naked, but not naked,
No.
right?
But
Okay, let's not
they
spread
see,
rumors.
But they see the stuff
Knock
in my
first.
teeth.
Yeah. They see the
Knock
gunk in our
first.
teeth.
Knock first, Jen. Knock first.
Wait, can we tell?
Yes.
No, can
So we were in Honduras.
yes, can we tell
And-
that story though?
Pastor Lou, Alex and I were all rooming together in a room, and the ladies were in a different room downstairs, and I was in the washroom, and Pastor Lou was in bed, and I don't think Jen ever had visited our room, but she
No.
decided to come up.
Wait, can I tell?
She has
tell
to
my
say it.
version?
Like, because I
Yes,
love
yes,
her
Hold on.
version. It makes me laugh every time.
Please do.
So they were collecting laundry, right? And it was late at night, so there weren't lights on, and I had never gone upstairs to his level of or wherever their room was, right? So I'm just kind of being really careful going up the stairs, but there was an extra little step that I didn't know, so I trip over that step. And then I start to fall into the wall, and it's like a stucco wall. So my knuckles are like sliding into the wall, right? And I fall into their door, which wasn't locked, and it was like a little open. So I fall into the door, and my toes like slid on the ground, like my foot was like sliding, and I see Pastor Lou in his blanket, like this. He's like, most people would knock before they come in.
Just saying. Just saying.
In our defense, had
saying.
I accidentally tripped into the women's room, it would have been a different story.
Listen, I think just the whole, because she even came downstairs and she's like, look at my toe.
I
and
was
my-"
bleeding.
She was
My
literally
knuckles.
like bleeding, but she goes, and then, Lou's just nonchalantly like laying there like, some people may.
Just saying.
I mean,
the right
and then
thing
I
to
asked
do.
her, I think I asked her, I mean, did he get up and like say, are you
No.
okay? He's like, no. He just stood there.
Not even. He was under his blanket. His one little savannah.
And then I'm like, what are you doing? Why didn't you knock? You could have been naked. Like, what's wrong with you?
Oh, so you didn't even ask her, are you okay?
No,
I did
nobody. After he gave me his laundry.
I was like, oh, you should wipe your knuckles with this.
Oh, your hands are so dirty.
Actually, the next day we were in worship. I remember now, and he's holding my hand, and I had like started to scab, and he's like, "What's this?" And he ripped open my scab, and it started bleeding
I didn't know
again.
it was a scab, sorry.
It was. Yeah.
That's hilarious. So I have a question. Just thinking about how, I mean, we've been in ministry for a really long time. Prior to, where we are today, we were serving alongside other pastors and other pastors before that. If you could speak to the couple that's coming up, that is like hesitant to walk in faith, the couple that is like, what do I do? Where do I go? How do I serve? Like, what kind of advice would you tell them?
Would you like me to go first?
Sure.
I don't know. It's a loaded question, but I think there's a lot of different reasons why I'll speak to the men might be hesitant to go through. I think for me personally, I think it was more of the image. I was more worried about what everybody else thought and how I looked, how much did I know, I would tell you just open yourself up to it, right? Just dive in. I think there's been plenty of situations, which we've even joked about before in the past, where God was calling, God was knocking, God was asking for, me to be involved, for me to be obedient, for me to obey. And I was hesitant, right? I want to do what I want to do. I want to enjoy the lifestyle the way I think, and it wasn't until we started actually making myself vulnerable and actually coming in and getting involved that you start to see the signs, miracles, and wonders, right?
Yeah.
And
We always talk about you quitting.
Yeah.
yeah.
Jason quits every season.
There's a lot of moving parts. I'm very operational. Kind of want to get in, get out, get the job done. Let's not sit around all day. But there's a lot of growth that happened in me there too, right?
Yeah.
Being patient, giving others grace and allowing myself some grace too in times where maybe I just needed to go away for a minute and kind of compose myself and get myself right. I think if you take the time to know Jesus and pray to him in that relationship, there's nobody who's going to humble you faster or
That's so
directly. He's going to let you know whether really that's what's bothering you here, right? So once you see, once you feel and experience what you get from a missions trip or even ministry too, like it's not necessarily you have to go across the world to get there. But once you do see the signs and wonders, you can't deny it.
Yeah. How do you go back?
You
from
can't
that,
deny
right?
it, right? And I know there's always going to be nearsayers and theirs, but we're all going through something different, right?
Yeah.
We all have different walks and experiences, and I think that the people we run into, the people we community with, the people who we, do life with and journey, we'll start to see the difference, and you'll see things in their lives, and you'll start to see that there's a bigger picture, and it's always fun to go back and take a look at where God's hand specifically was that we didn't realize within the moment.
Yeah.
So,
That's so good.
my word of the year, abide. So as Pastor Liz just said, I always quit. I do have a tendency like, I'm not doing this again. We've already done it. I'm done. Don't ask.
I think it got to the point where I was like, all right, you're going to tell them.
Yeah.
Like, go ahead. It's quit. Go.
So does this mean that you're coming to Africa?
Yeah.
Jen may be in Africa. I might be in Honduras. But
Yet to be determined.
we'll see.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say something that you've always said is do it scared, right? We got to do it scared. How are we going to stretch? How are we going to grow? How are we going to, right? If we're not doing it scared, because God's going to make a way no matter what. He's going to provide no matter what.
Yeah.
So we just have to be obedient and faithful and know that.
Our slogan for the last few days that I've been throwing around is if you're not awkward, you're not growing.
True.
So you have to be uncomfortable.
Yeah,
You have
do it
to-
uncomfortable.
Have to
Yeah.
just go in and see what happens, and you might be amazed.
Yeah. That's so good. Well, we love you guys, and we thank you for joining us. And again, for those who are watching, I know you just heard like a lot of birds and noise. We're outside. We're,
We wanted to give you some fresh air.
we're literally in the middle of like volcanoes. I wish you guys can see it, and maybe Gianna can add some
Yeah.
video at the end. But
Surrounded by three.
yeah, we're surrounded by three. It's really amazing.
And
But
here's something I didn't know, quick note, because I know we got to wrap up. One is a water volcano.
Oh,
Yes.
really?
Yeah, you were talking
No
yesterday.
way. I
Yeah,
didn't-
the
I
one
did
is a
not-
yeah,
wa-
Jason was in the car with us.
One was a water volcano, and on where it was at, there was a church next to it that said, you know what, we're not leaving, we're trusting God, and they got washed away. No. Pine trees fell in such a way that it diverted the water
Stop.
away from the church.
That's
And
so cool.
but yeah, two things. First, water volcanoes exist. Whatever that looks like.
Never knew that.
Right?
I thought those were geysers.
I know. He maybe. Well, maybe that's what it is, and he didn't have the word geyser in the Spanish dictionary. I don't know. But so. Oh, now you got me thinking like I'm saying it wrong.
No, not at all.
Guess I'm gonna have to look it up.
Right.
But yeah, it's an amazing place out here, and so
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and
beautiful.
this has certainly been an amazing ride, and we're thankful to have
Yep.
people like yourselves to be right along the ride
Yeah.
with us. We
appreciate
we
you guys.
appreciate
We
you
love you
guys so
guys, for
much.
sure.
Yeah.
Oh, we love you guys too. We're so grateful. So
Thanks for
wherever
having us.
wherever you go, we'll go. Right, Jay?
Amen. Like Ruth and Naomi.
Amen.
Right, Jay?
Warriors.
Yeah. Thank
Amen.
you all for joining
Love
us
y'all.
today. Thank
you
you,
guys.
God
you for
bless.
tuning in, and
Yep.
we will see you on episode 24.
24, which is gonna be in a few minutes. We'll be wearing the same
Yes,
clothes.
we'll be wearing the same clothes.
Bye bye.